Welcome to Between the Lines podcast. I'm Jess.
And I'm Janine.
And we both work at the Winkler branch of the South Central Regional Library.
In this podcast, we talk about books with our own twist. We talk about just the first half and predict where it might be going.
And finish reading the book and discuss the second half.
There will be snark, there will be spoilers, and depending on the book, there may be references to violence, sex, or other adult topics.
So if that's not for you, stop listening now.
All right, let's get into this week's book. All right, so today's book is Contact by Carl Sagan. We have a special guest with us today, Michelle from the Altona branch.
Hi, all.
So, to start off, the summary of the book. The future is here in an adventure of cosmic dimension. When a signal is discovered that seems to come from far beyond our solar system, a multinational team of scientists decides to find the source. What follows is an eye-opening journey out to the stars to the most awesome encounter in human history. Who, or what, is out there? Why are they watching us? And what do they want with us? This is the only full work of fiction that was published by Carl Sagan, and it was published in 1985. The novel originated as a screenplay by Sagan and Anne Druyan. I don't know if I said that right, so apologies if that's wrong, whom he later married in 1979. When development of the film stalled, Sagan decided to convert the stalled film into a novel. Carl Sagan is an American astronomer, planetary scientist, astrophysicist, astrobiologist, author, and science communicator. He assembled the first physical messages sent into space, the Pioneer Plaque and the Voyager Golden Record, universal messages that could potentially be understood by any extraterrestrial intelligence that might find them. So, with that, let's get into it.
We should also say that the novel started out as a screenplay, got turned into a novel, and then got turned into a movie after, with Matthew McConaughey and Jodie Foster.
Matthew McConaughey, Jodie Foster. It was in 97.
Matthew McConaughey is in this?
Yeah, he plays Jaws, Palmer Jaws.
Okay.
And he's delicious, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to read the book, because I love the movie. I think I've watched it like 15 times.
Wow.
Which is a little ridiculous, but I love my sci-fi.
See, I'm not a big sci-fi person.
Right.
I read my very first sci-fi book in fall for the podcast.
Because I made you.
Because Jess made me. And I liked it. This, for me, I feel like I'm too dumb to read this book. Because he uses a lot of jargon and a lot of very long explanations of things that just kind of right over my head.
Right.
And so, for me, it was a struggle for me to read this book. I'm not going to lie.
But the scientific stuff doesn't remove from the entertainment value, right? Like, are you still enjoying the story, even though the science isn't?
It's very slow.
Is it?
For me, and I feel like there's a lot of, like, unnecessary details.
Probably, I would agree with that.
Like, every time he introduces a new minor character, you get their whole life story.
Yes.
Do I need all that information? No.
And there's a lot of chitter-chatter between characters.
Yeah.
A lot of chitter-chatter.
So, I'm trying really hard to, like, pick out the actual storyline and, like, the interesting bits, but it's... Like, I'm normally a very fast reader. It took me a while to get through this.
And I had to pace myself because I wanted to read it all in one day.
Okay, see? And that's...
Yeah.
Yeah.
The joy of everybody having a different interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Like, I'm a science nerd, but even I'm kind of going, like you said, you kind of have to pick out the story here and pick it out there.
Right.
Because there is quite a lot of science information.
Yes.
To the point where if you don't have any interest in science, it is off-putting.
I think I would probably feel exactly the same as both of you if I hadn't seen the movie.
And that's what I was wondering, too. If I watched the movie, if it would be better for me, because seeing something rather than just reading it on a page is totally different.
Right.
And probably in a movie, it's more accessible to...
Yeah.
the non-science people like me.
Right. Well, and
they kind of have to if they expect the movie to be good.
Yeah. Exactly. And in the movie, there's far less characters, and it's faster paced.
Yeah.
And you have more normal conversation, not lengthy.
See, that's
back
the thing.
and forth.
Like, for me, I'm kind of like, the story only really started about halfway through the first half, where I'm kind of going, okay, something's happening, finally.
Yeah.
But it took a while to get there. Where I was kind of going, hello, any aliens out there? Anybody showing up? Because you really should. I'm getting bored.
And it, like, at times for me, it felt a little bit like choppy almost. Like
Right.
there was one
To a
chapter where the president was like, okay, we got to keep this quiet.
Yep.
But in the next chapter, like the whole world knew about it. And I was like, what just happened here? Like we just did like a complete 180 and
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that too, I was like, it wasn't, this is why scientists shouldn't write fiction, in my
Right.
opinion.
I get
If
that.
scientists
But-
do write fiction, they need dumb editors who are going, okay, I represent the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
You need to dumb this down.
Explain this to me.
But no, like I am looking forward to the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, in the second half of the first half, in the second quarter of the book, we'll go that way. I was getting to a point where I'm going, okay, cool, stuff is happening. So when I got to the halfway point, I'm kind of going, I don't want to stop. But at the same time, I'm kind of going, it's quite dense.
It is dense.
So I'm curious to see how the second half is. Because sometimes it's like, okay, we packed all the information into the first half.
Yeah.
So you have all the information, and then we could just move on with the story, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like just a little bit lighter. Or if it's going to continue to be quite scientifically dense.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing
I'm
how that
hoping
turns
it's less scientifically dense, but I don't expect that
So
to
what
be the case.
what did you girls like about it, the first half? I'm curious. Jess?
out. Found it very interesting that the first thing they sent back was Hitler.
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah,
that
going,
was-
oh, we really didn't put the best of ourselves out there, did
I
we?
know. I thought too that was funny.
But that was the first broadcast. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that was
sent.
Hitler at the Olympic Games. So
Yeah.
it's accurate, and it just kind of sucks to kind of go, okay, no, if anybody's actually out there listening,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the human they chose to represent Earth, right?
This is not our
Yeah.
legacy.
Yes.
After all.
Please ignore the rambling little guy.
Yeah. I also, I was saying this to Jess earlier, the part where they were in Paris and she was going on the walk with that other scientist. And then
Yes.
there was like a pot store or something like that and people were lining up. Well, when I was doing some research for this book, I found out that Carl Sagan was a pothead. So
Oh,
for me, that was kind
brilliant.
of funny because I was like, yeah. So, or maybe pothead is the wrong word, but he did smoke pot. It was well known apparently. So
Right.
yeah. So for me, that was kind of humorous also. But one of the things I found interesting, like the Americans are very like, we don't want to share, we don't want to whatever.
They don't play well with others.
And I was like, that's exactly what I wrote down. Nothing has changed because the Americans
Yes.
still don't really play well with others.
Yeah.
So it's very like,
They want that world domination. Yeah.
and that's exactly what's happening in this book too.
I mean, when you think about it, the book was started during the Cold War.
Yeah,
Sharing wasn't really a thing that they did super well.
that's
No.
true.
So, but I mean, nothing's changed.
No,
We still don't share well with Russia.
no. We,
So, they.
They.
I
I
am
was
not
just like,
American.
don't associate yourself with them.
I'm Canadian, thank you. I like polar bears and Timmies. Go away.
What do you think of the parallels of the science meets religion?
There is a point where I'm going, oh, the ego of some of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, to assume that, okay, like, the first information sent back was the picture video clip of Hitler at the Olympics. And then it went into the, instruction manual for whatever.
The
it is.
machine, the machine.
The machine, yes.
Yeah.
The one with the armchairs. I just found it funny at the end of the second or first half where they're going, do you really think they'd install armchairs in a bomb?
Yes.
Valid.
To make our people comfortable before we blow them up.
Yep.
Exactly. False sense of security.
Mm-hmm.
Anywho, the fact that people are actually going, well, it could be a message from God or the devil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you seriously think he'd send a thing of Hitler first?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, I don't know. I just find that whole part, like, mind-boggling.
Well, and the premise of it is that this, because it's so substantial, God must be in there somewhere doing something, right? And you look at the American politics of it, you don't have an American politician who doesn't have some form of conservative views.
Yeah, well, that's how they get elected.
So then God must be involved in all things and all choices and all discoveries, right? So I find that interesting. I'm not a religious person by any means. So I look at the science side more than I look at the religious side, and I just shake my head. But
See, I'm the same where I'm going, you know where it's coming from.
yes,
You have an idea of what they're giving you.
yes,
Do you think God wants you to install armchairs?
right.
Yeah.
Like,
Like,
to me, it's mind-boggling. And, like, I forget the main character's, or the one character's name, but he was insistent that religious groups help decode this. And I'm going,
Palmer Joss.
yes, yeah, that's his name. What qualifications do you have?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally not qualified. You wouldn't know where to start. You're guessing.
Yes.
It's not actual, like, linguistics or any kind of code breaking that
No.
is involved with them. He's just going, you know, God will tell me.
Right.
If God wanted to tell you how to translate this message that God sent, maybe God would have sent it in English
Right.
first time around.
And giving you exact blueprints.
Like, I don't know, the ego to go, I will translate God's word. I'm just going, okay. You do that in the corner with your crayons, and we'll be over here.
True.
Like, he reads the Bible in English. He doesn't even read it in its original Aramaic or Hebrew or any other language it was written in.
Yep.
Like, to have the nerve when you're not even reading it in the original language to then go, I will translate this, thank you. Like, come on.
Yeah. Well, and then he talks about Occam's razor and how oftentimes when there's situations, the easiest, how does he put it? The easiest,
The most obvious answer is generally the right one.
right.
Yeah.
But the easiest answer is generally the right one. So he's trying to say that maybe this is just a sign from God and not actual aliens. But because a sign from God would be easier to understand than a sign from aliens.
Is it though?
It's not. But that's,
God was
that's
pretty
what he
vague.
was trying to put across.
Here, I'm gonna light this bush on fire. Tell me what you think. Like,
Yeah.
really?
True.
It's one of those things where you're going, nope.
Yeah.
Janine, thoughts?
Well, first of all, as a slight aside, I don't know if either of you have seen the movie Nacho Libre.
No.
But anyways, there's this one part where one character goes, I believe in science. And that's all I can think of when that conversation comes up. And so that's just always in my head. Anyways, you can cut that out, Linda, if you like. But
No, please don't.
but that's just in my head when I think about sciencey things. I think that I am a religious person, but I think religion and science are two separate things.
Yes.
And I think that if God is going to send a message, he will do it in an unexpected way, not like this.
His face on toast.
Or with Hitler.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, and so I just, like, for me, that part, like, I understand religious fanatics not wanting to believe in aliens, extraterrestrial,
Yes.
like, all of that. I don't think he came at it in the right way
No.
with the religious fanatics and their point of view. I don't know. And also it just, like, went on for a while.
It did.
It was a lot, and...
I was having
I
a
don't
difficult time reading because I was rolling my eyes so hard with that part, honestly.
So, yeah, for me, I understand, like, the point he was trying to make, but I just don't think he came at it
Right.
in the right way or in a way that made sense.
So in other words, it's kind of proving to you that science and religion don't always mix.
No, I don't think they always do.
No.
In some cases, maybe, yeah. But,
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. I think you can be religious and believe in science,
For sure.
but...
They're not mutually exclusive, that's
No,
for sure.
No.
Like,
no. Can science always explain religion?
Nope.
Not really. And that's the part of having faith, right? So, yeah, I don't know. Not wanting to, like, delve into a whole big religious science versus faith conversation. but-
theological debates.
yeah, but I did find that part interesting because that's sort of an age-old argument, right?
It
Yeah.
was definitely a part of the book that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of science fiction tends to steer away from the religion aspect, or they tend to go very much the one creator aspect of it, where there's the assumption that there's one creator and each religion, each planet, whatever, has its own belief system and its own fables and tales and whatever about
Yes.
this same creator. But no matter what you call him, we're all talking about the same guy.
Right.
Right.
So it's interesting that they went from sci-fi to, like, went at it from this angle.
Yeah. But I think also it's very clear that Carl Sagan is not a religious person.
Oh,
Right.
definitely.
One thing I loved about the book is that he wrote it, Carl Sagan wrote it as a man representing a woman. And he definitely hit a lot of those points about misogyny and how, you know, she was not always trusted or represented properly because she was a woman. She was often undermined in her science and in the science community. And I thought that was interesting that as a man, you can grasp that. I really like that. I thought that was cool.
That is a good point. And also that the president was female.
Yes, I like
And
that too.
there still has not been a female president in the States.
No.
So, like, that was sort of ahead of his time.
Yes.
In that sense. And why he would choose to do that, I don't really know.
Right.
But was kind of interesting.
I agree.
Something different. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. You got a fair amount of male writers that are trying to hit the feminism aspect
Right.
and are
But
so not getting it.
but they're doing that now. This book was written in 85.
Like, it's quite impressive that in 85,
Yes.
not only did he, A, attempt it,
Yep.
but B, you know, do a fairly good job of it. Like, you have guys these days where they're still like, but what do women want? Equality. What?
Representation.
Equal pay.
Yeah.
What's this nonsense you speak of?
But you can't do half of what we do.
Oh, no, of course not.
We can, just in a different way.
Yeah.
No, that's never an argument that's going to win any points with me. It does amuse me when people try, though.
Cool.
I am looking forward. I'm going to watch the movie after I'm done the book.
We need to find it, though.
I have my ways.
It's not in Spruce.
No. Jess and I had talked about if we could do this as a page to screen, but we can't because we don't have access to the movie. So, yeah, I would like to watch it after being done the book as well.
It's fantastic, but I think you'll be sorely disappointed.
Yeah.
My husband hates it. Every time I used to put it on, he'd walk into the room and be like, "Oh, this crap again."
Does he like science fiction, though?
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
see, that's the thing. I do like science
No.
fiction, so...
I don't like reading science fiction. I love science fiction movies.
Okay.
The most science fiction I've read, like I love
Interstellar?
well, I love Interstellar, the movie. Yeah, but he wrote The Martian.
Oh, Andy Weir.
Andy Weir, I read all three of his books. So there's The Martian, there is Artemis,
Hail
and
Mary.
Project Hail Mary. I've read Project Hail Mary twice, and that's like, you want science
Okay.
that you can understand. Project Hail Mary is fantastic. And that's why I wanted to read this.
Yeah, see, that's one that I have been interested in
It
reading.
is such a good book.
And I've also heard good things about Blake Crouch.
That
who
one I've never heard
is
of.
new to me. We just got one of his books in fall, I think.
Blake Crouch.
Yeah, I think that's his name.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's science fiction that he writes, but I've heard good things about him as well. So,
Interesting. I'm going to have to check them out.
in fall we read Aurora Rising, which is a young adult
Yes.
science fiction, which I enjoyed because it was about them living in space.
Right.
And it was, I don't know, it was just different. It was less sciencey, I felt like. It wasn't as,
It was sciencey, but it wasn't like we're just figuring out the science for the first time.
yeah, it was
It
like,
was just, it's known science rather than discovered science.
yeah, and
Right.
maybe that's why I liked it, or
Right.
I don't know.
There's a lot
like,
of story, though, too, with it. Like, it
yeah.
wasn't science heavy. It was more story than science.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
in this book, it's more about the message so far. And the message that they got from Vega.
Yeah.
And there's not really a lot of space yet.
I will
Yeah.
say. It threw me off when they're talking about the
vegans?
The vegans, and I'm going, what? Why are you talking about vegans all of a sudden? But it's
Vegans.
Like vegans. I'm like, oh, okay, that
Yes,
makes sense now.
I know.
But then I'm also going, is it pronounced Vega or Vega?
Vega.
Because I assumed it was Vega.
It is.
Yeah,
So it should be vegans, not vegans, but it's spelled vegan, so.
I know.
Yeah, that threw me off, because I'm like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just, like, when I got to about chapter 5, I was like, okay, so here's what's happened in the book so far. They may have made contact
Yep.
with extraterrestrial life. They're communicating with them in prime numbers. She lives in New Mexico. 3 sentences. I'm 5 chapters in. Like,
It takes a while to get going.
it really does.
Like,
Yep.
And there's a point where I'm going, please tell me her entire history is relevant at some point, because I didn't
Yeah.
need to know what she liked as a little girl.
Yeah.
It will be all relevant.
Good.
It's all going to come out in the end.
I promise.
really
and I'm
hope
sorry
so.
because I'm the one that picked this
No,
book.
no, it's not.
No, I am enjoying it. It's just taking me a while
It
to
is.
enjoy it.
It's just...
Yeah.
And I am looking forward to the second half, but it's a case of there's same thing with a lot of books. They cram so much into the first half.
Yes.
You're going, please tell me this is relevant during the second half, or you've just wasted my time.
Right.
And some of them they don't, and those are the ones that drive me a little bit nuts because I'm going, I don't need to know this information then.
Yeah.
Edit, people, edit.
And for me, like, I read a lot of different types of books, but science fiction isn't usually one of them.
Right.
For a very good reason. Because I don't like it, usually. And so it's just, like, I mean, obviously not everybody's going to love every book either.
No.
And it's totally fine that you picked this book.
We forgive you.
Thank you.
No.
Don't kick me out.
No, we're not going to kick you out. I just totally lost my...
Sorry, I
train of thought.
interrupted.
No, I lost it before you interrupted me, so it's fine. I want them to go to space.
I
I
really
am
do.
waiting for some space travel,
Yes.
is what I'm really waiting for.
See, and I think, yeah, because I've seen the movie so many times, like you talk about these armchairs, and there's 5 of them. I know exactly what's going to happen next. And so I'm so excited. I'm just like, yes!
So that's the thing, like, we're finally getting somewhere, and we
Yeah.
had to stop and record this.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going,
I wanted to keep going. I
That's
know.
the beauty of the podcast.
yeah,
Right.
I know. Drive you crazy.
So are you finding that the book follows the movie fairly closely, or?
Well, like I said in the beginning, there's more characters. Like this Vege guy, his name is a mashup of 2 separate names. So anybody listening, his name is Vege. It's
Yeah.
weird. But he doesn't exist in the movie.
Okay.
I was wondering about that, because he seemed a little shoehorned in.
Yeah, there's a lot more focus on a little bit of Haddon, who owns Haddon Enterprises. There's far more focus on Palmer Joss.
Well, I feel like we barely got introduced to him in the first half. Like,
Right. There's been some ramblings by him, but not a lot of like who he is. And then there's a lot more. There's another character. I can't remember his name,
Okay.
but he's in the same building that she works. And it's interesting because in the movie he's actually blind, so he can hear. Right. So when you lose a sense, your other senses
That
are
makes
heightened.
perfect sense.
So he was the one, like, in the movie, when the signal had come through, he kept, of course, they heard the prime numbers, but he kept saying there's an underlying thing I'm hearing in his headphones, and he said somebody put on a TV. So they plugged in a television, and then that's where they discovered, like, it was all just black and white fuzzy screen, but they kept turning the image and zooming out, and that's when they got the image of Hitler. But it was only because he heard it in the audio of what was coming through.
To actually give him that idea.
In the book, there's no mention of that. Right. So then there's little things like that are different.
Kind of simplified a few things. And
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put a few
exactly.
things together for the movie. Yeah,
Right.
I think I'm
Things
gonna
happens a fair amount.
have to watch the movie
The movie is really
because I
good.
think it will make the information more accessible
Yes.
to me.
Yes.
That's always a thing. It's like that with most science fiction movies versus books. The
Well,
science is easier to understand in the movie because you have, like, the diagrams and
visual.
the visual
Yeah.
cues for everything. So, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to watching the movie. I'm kind of annoyed I have to wait till I finish the book.
You wouldn't have to.
No, I have to. Otherwise, it'll ruin it for me.
Yeah, it will ruin it. It's gonna drive me nuts. What is this guy's name? I gotta flip here.
I'm terrible with character name. On the one hand, sometimes I'm like, it's nice to have, like, the character index at the beginning. On the other hand, I never read those.
I know, right?
Like, they need to have one, like, halfway through. Just so you know, these are all the people.
See, there's a lot of reference to this Vege guy,
Yeah,
and he doesn't exist in the movie.
I'm kind of fine with that.
Because the name is...
His name is stupid.
It's not a great name. And
not.
honestly, he's just kind of annoying.
Yeah, he talks a lot.
He talks a lot, and I'm kind of like, leave her alone. She's got work to do.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
She's trying to discover alien signals and whatnot. Leave her alone, man.
Yeah, let her do her job. Dude.
I think she's got a weird obsession with radios, though.
Yeah.
Right?
It does seem to be
She-
something from a young age, yes.
Yep.
And even though we got, like, a full childhood history, I feel like she's still a little bit mysterious.
Yes. I agree.
It's one of those where you get just enough history to kind of go, what are we missing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's another thing is in the movie, her mom does not exist.
Oh.
How was she born then? Hatched?
Well, it's possible because she's obsessed with all things shiny.
Did they just kill off both her mom and her dad?
They killed off her dad at a young age, but they don't explain how she was raised. But the mom was never in the picture, so one would assume she died
At some point?
at some point, right? Whereas in the book, there's quite a bit of focus on contacting her mom. I have to call my mom. I still
Yeah.
haven't called my mom,
Yeah.
right? Because her mom was in a care home.
Yep. And they never explain what happened to her stepdad.
No.
Does
No.
that ever... Well, I guess you don't own the book, but
There was-
there was no stepdad.
There
in the
was no
movie either.
stepdad. No, it was just her dad. And it was her dad who introduced her love of radios and all things electronic and the stars. He, in the movie, he gave her a telescope,
Oh, cool.
and that's how
Okay.
she fell in love with interstellar information, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Like, I think there's a lot of things in the book where it's kind of like, could have just simplified that.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot.
But that's also what made it a good movie, is they just simplified a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Janine, any predictions for the next half?
I hope that they're going to go to space.
Oh, me too.
I'm picturing a big circular UFO type thing with armchairs, really comfy armchairs that I want to sit in and go on a
Didn't they say
ride.
it was like an octagon or a polyhedron or something?
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So it's a 12-sided figure.
12-sided. Anyway, when I was reading that, I was like, that sounds comfy. I know.
I'd like to go to space in a recliner, please.
Yes, why
And
not?
If you're traveling the speed of light or faster, imagine the G-force on that. Like, your cheeks would be against the wall, right?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious if there is life out there.
Well, there
Something
is
sending a
life
signal.
because somebody sent
That's
it.
true.
And it's an intelligent signal. It's not like
Right.
if it was just a case of Hitler bounced back to them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
then sure, like hypothetically, it could just be something knocked the radio waves back at you.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's clearly some kind of intelligent design in the
Yes,
message.
that's
So
true. I guess a better thing to say would be curious about finding out what is out there.
as am I. I'm looking forward to it. Now that we finally kind of got past a lot of the intro stuff, I want to read more. So I think it will be interesting.
I don't have any predictions because
Yeah, you can't predict anything. You know how
No.
it ends.
I'm just curious to see how the next half will play out compared to the movie.
Yeah.
And so far, would you say it's living up to your expectations based on your love of the movie?
I'm enjoying it immensely. I know it's dense, but I'm not one to shy away from a dense book. I love the science, even if I don't understand it all. And I really have to give the man praise because, I mean, he's talking about things that are far beyond his time in 1985. So when I think of stuff like that, then I love the book. So
Yeah.
far, it's living up to what I was hoping.
That's good.
That's for sure. But I like having the faces of the characters in my head when I read.
Yeah, see, that's the
That's
thing.
one
I
of
don't
my
really have any
favorites.
character faces in my head right now.
No, well, just Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey.
Jodie Foster, yes, because I knew she was in the movie.
Right.
All the men to me have like
Beards.
Freudian beards.
Freudian beards.
Like, okay, another movie reference: Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Anybody?
No, I don't
Okay,
watch comedy.
so there's the character who plays Freud in that movie. That's what I'm picturing all the men to look like.
Isn't it funny how we make up our own character faces in our heads?
Even like listening to a podcast and talking about people, and then seeing what those people actually look like, and it's like, oh, that's not what
Right?
like. There was like I listen to true crime podcasts a lot.
Love it.
And so there was a big case that was happening in the States right now, the podcast that I listened to. And anyway, somebody was saying, oh, that's what he looks like when they saw him like on TV or whatever. So, yeah. But yeah, it's like that a lot because you get those pictures in your head and you're like, oh, that's not what I thought they looked like at all.
It's interesting. Hey, it's
Yeah.
just like how they say when you... Have you ever had a dream so vivid, but you can see that person's face and you wake up and you go, I have no idea who that was, right? But they say your brain can't make... Your brain cannot make a face that you have never seen in your life. So if you dream of a stranger with a vivid face, you have seen that face somewhere in your life. Somewhere. It doesn't matter, like, it could have been 30 years ago, well, in your case, could have been 10 years ago. But your brain can't make up a face on its own, and yet when we read, we do that exact thing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Uh-huh.
I think with that, we'll leave it for today because we're off the rails.
And we're back with part 2 of Contact by Carl Sagan and special guest Michelle from the Altona branch.
Hello.
So, thoughts? Feelings?
I loved it.
Did you?
Yeah,
Good.
I did. You girls?
It was a lot easier to get through the second half than the first half. First half, I'm like, okay, I'm struggling a bit. Second half, I'm like, okay, things are happening. We're moving.
Eh,
Janine doesn't agree.
I'm going to be the voice of dissent on this one. I had a hard time with this book in general. I just thought there was a lot of extra detail.
There was, yes. That is something I would agree with.
I fell asleep multiple times trying to read it. Honestly, I felt like it was a letdown in the end.
Really?
I
A little
did.
bit.
Like, they get to space, and it's a beach. It's not spacey. It was a beach. And the people there
We're
were,
allowed to have
like...
beaches in space.
Well, I just wanted it to be spacey. Like, more like space.
Yeah.
Like,
They
I
did
don't
that, though, to make them comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but I don't know. And then there was, like, the people took on forms of people that they knew, and I don't know. I just wanted more from the space part.
More drama.
More something. I don't know.
I wanted more from the civilization or the
Yeah.
people that they found.
Yeah.
Yes.
I could have
Like-
done less with the Japanese culture and Japanese history
Mm-hmm.
and had more about the other civilizations.
Yeah, because they basically just went, oh yeah, we're here and we're like,
Mm-hmm.
doing whatever we want. Here's, some information, and then back to Earth you go. And
Yeah.
it's like,
We're trying to do something with the number pi.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm going, you could make a pie. Tomorrow's pie day. I need to make pie.
Not actually, when we're recording this, tomorrow's
Yes,
Pi Day.
Yes. Tomorrow. Yeah.
Tomorrow will be a different day than Pi Day.
Every day is pie day.
Yeah, for me, it was a lot of science jargon for the common reader like me.
Yeah.
I did find it was less jargon in the second half than the first half.
A little bit.
First half is like a lot. And I get it because you're trying to explain a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, there is some stuff where it's like, we don't need to know every single nitty gritty detail of it.
Yeah.
So,
And I will say, I think Carl Sagan was a writer ahead of his time. Like he did, you mentioned that last time, I think. He talked about a lot of things that were ahead of the time when the book was written. I will give him that. But also, I think a prime example of why scientists should not be writing fiction, in my opinion.
I will say, I don't think he can write relationships at all.
No.
No.
Like, that is definitely not his strong suit.
But I do think it's cool that it was written in 1985, but set in 99 and 2000.
Yeah.
Like, he
Yeah.
had some of those things, even though it was lacking the internet. Some of the science and the technology was super awesome, considering that it was pretty
Yeah.
darn close to what he thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I also think that if you are a person who is into science,
Yeah.
you will probably love this book.
Right.
I'm not that into science. So for me, it was a bit of a slog, personally. But having said that, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I just think when it comes to... There's a few people I would just remove from this book, honestly.
Too many characters that didn't matter.
Too many characters that didn't matter.
Yeah.
Where he seemed to add them so that she could have a relationship with somebody, but then didn't know how to write that, so it was just kind of like fell flat.
Right.
I'm like, just get rid of it. Just, come on. Like, her mother, she kept going, oh, I need to call mom. I need to call mom. And it's like, okay, whatever. We didn't get enough history to be interested. There wasn't enough intrigue to be like, oh, do you have problems with your mother? Like, it was just kind of like,
She was there.
she was there. And Ken, was it?
So, okay.
He can just get rid of him.
The last episode we recorded, I told you there was a character in the movie that was blind, and it was Ken.
Okay.
So in the movie, he's very important because he's kind of her wingman.
Okay.
He's kind of the one that keeps her grounded and guided and almost a father figure of sorts. So I found that interesting that he had a very crappy role in the book. And then another thing I found interesting is Palmer Joss, in the first half of the book, you hear him talk about his religion, and how important that is to the structure of humans and why science and religion have to be separate. They can't go hand in hand. And then he just kind of...
He just disappears.
It disappears. Whereas in the movie, she actually has an affair with him. They become together of sorts. And at the end, he was the one that fought against her in a way, saying, like, maybe this is false. Maybe it didn't happen. Maybe you didn't travel anywhere, and yet believed her. But in the grand scheme of things, in front of other people, he didn't defend her. So there was much more dynamic between her and him in the movie than there was in the book, and that disappointed me.
See,
Very much.
that to me makes more sense.
Yes.
Because it seemed like there was at least some kind of chemistry between the two characters in the
Yes.
book. Like, the first half, it's like, okay, they're arguing, but at least, there's something happening. But then he just, like, poofed off the radar.
Yep.
And then he shows up, like, at the very end, and she gives him a palm leaf, and but, like, pretty much doesn't exist for the rest of the book.
Right.
Which, kind of a waste of a character.
It is, especially one that had so much importance and so much voice and different views from what she had in the beginning.
See, that's the thing. Like, it kind of feels like Carl Sagan can write. The science fiction aspect of it is just really not good with people.
Right.
Like, he doesn't understand how people communicate, which I guess is a very scientisty thing.
That's fair.
Like, he doesn't lean enough into the science aspect of it, or enough into the relationship aspects. He just kind of hits that middle ground where it's just...
It's a little bit of everything, but not enough of everything.
Yeah, and it never really hits correctly.
Yeah.
That's sort of also the thing, though, with people who are exceptionally smart. They don't have a lot of, like, people smarts.
Yeah.
And so I think that kind of maybe shows in his writing. Although he didn't write the book alone. He wrote it with his wife. And I'm not sure if what...
She added human parts.
Well, is she a scientist also? I'm not really sure
that I have no idea.
who she is. They weren't married when they wrote the book, it looks like. But anyway. So yeah, I don't know what parts she was responsible for.
Yeah. Who's the guy that zoomed off into space at the end? What's his name?
Hadden?
Hadden.
The guy that was living sort of in the outer orbit.
Yeah.
I just want a book about him.
That was the part that I liked.
S.R.
actually.
Hadden.
Yes. Why is there not more of him? Like, just get rid of a bunch of these other people and just have more him. He's interesting.
See, I like that part where they were like sort of living just in the outer orbits of Earth and like let's hear more about how this
and
works.
what it felt like and what they were experiencing. Yeah,
Lack
totally.
of gravity helps you live longer, and then,
Yes.
just throw yourself in a coffin at the stars.
I'm dead, but
I'll
I'm
go
not
that way.
really dead.
That to me was interesting.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, for that to be kind of the end of the book, I'm like, okay, on the one hand, sure, sort of makes sense. On the other hand, you're now attaching a fair amount of significance to a character that we barely met.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm like, have more of him. He was interesting. Is he in the movie more?
He is in the movie more, and it's funny because Drumland? No, I'm saying it wrong.
Drumlin?
He was killed in the book. In the movie, he was murdered.
Oh.
So what had happened in the movie is a religious fanatical group had actually sabotaged the machine, and he died. So then it was decided that Ellie would go into space. See, there's another difference, is in the book, 5 people went. In the movie, only Ellie went.
Oh.
Okay. So they replaced, when he passed away, they replaced Ellie with... No, Ellie replaced him to go into space, but they had only built one machine in the movie. The government decided, of course it's the American government, decided they only had enough money and enough resources and enough manpower to build one machine. So when it got sabotaged and he died, S.R. Hadden had contacted Ellie and said that he had built a machine with his own money in secret in Japan, and that he was choosing her to go. So there was a much different relationship.
Yeah.
And then he died in the movie. I can't remember. I think it was from cancer or something. It touched briefly about why he was living in space, but there was much more mystery and intrigue in the movie than there was in the book, which was a great twist.
Yeah.
Because it's
That
like...
sounds better.
She wasn't chosen by her government to go. There was only going to be one person, so she felt ripped off because she was the one that discovered the message. She was the one that convinced the world to build the machine, and then they chose Drumlin.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. That sounds better, honestly.
It is better.
Basically, in the book,
Yeah.
what's his name? Science guy. And there was
Bill Nye?
Yeah, Bill Nye, the science guy. Yeah, I'm gonna have this stuck in my head for days. No, the guy that zoomed off into space.
Hadden.
I am terrible with names. In the book, Hadden's basically just a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, you get all this information about the contractor, and I'm like,
That was cool.
well, it's cool.
Right.
It's very random. It's like all of a sudden, if you're doing a piece on the Taj Mahal, going into the life of the plumber.
Yeah.
And going, oh, by the way, he's very interesting. It's like, okay, either or here.
Yeah, you wanted more. I think that's why I enjoyed the book so much. If I wouldn't have been so in love with the movie, I think I would have slogged my way through the book as well. But because I had all the visual parts in my head of the movie and such a love of it, I enjoyed the book. But
The compare and contrast is sometimes more fun.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, when I hear you talk about the movie, I think, oh, well, that might be kind of interesting
To watch.
Yeah. I think, too, if I could visualize it better,
Yeah.
that might help me with it also.
Right.
Like, because now it's so much science talk and things that I don't fully understand, that sometimes if you can see them or they're explained differently, it's easier to understand. So
I agree.
Well, honestly, everything you said about the movie so far sounds like it's better than the book.
I know, so
Like
often the
every
book is...
specific
yeah.
thing you're going like, "Well, that makes way more sense in the book. Why didn't they do that in the book?"
Yeah. More often than not, the books are far better than the movies.
Yeah,
That's why we
absolutely.
do it. And yet this one, I would have to say,
you would disagree.
The movie
well,
feels
the-
like a second draft of the book where they've kind of just improved things.
yes. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't disappointed by the book. I immensely enjoyed it. But if I had to pick between the two, I'd definitely watch the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed the book. Like, the second half was way more interesting.
Yeah.
But it's also one of those where I'm going, if I can pick from every sci-fi book in the world, that's not this one.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's
There were-
not even top 10.
There was too much science and not enough fiction, maybe? Right?
too much science, not enough story
Yeah.
to connect the science to the story.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he had the science bits and he had the story bits, but there wasn't really any kind of... They didn't fit together.
Makes sense.
So, I don't know. Like I said before, it kind of just feels like he should have focused on either one or the other, as opposed to trying to
Yeah.
mash them together.
Mhm.
So.
And just a lot of extra detail.
Mm,
That was not
mhm.
like this book probably could have been about half as long.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
as
There
it
was
was.
a lot of useless information.
Well, it's like, what was it? Furious Hours,
Mhm.
where they did an entire chapter on the dam
Yes.
and the fish populations. And we're going, we don't care. We want the murder.
Let's talk about the murders.
Like, I don't care about the dam. I don't give a damn about the dam. This had a sort of similar thing where I'm going, I don't care.
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
one thing I did find interesting, what's her name? The woman that went to space. Like,
Oh.
Not Ellie
not Ellie, the one who's,
from India.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
What is her name?
drawing a blank on her name.
Something with a D.
Yeah. Her person that walked her through it was her dead husband, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And she came back basically going, boy, it's a good thing he died, because then I can remember him as he was, because I don't like him now. We're going, interesting. Because
Yeah.
everybody else seemed like it was kind of like, oh yeah, you know, my favorite dead person.
Favorite dead person.
Sounds terrible. But she's coming back and going, no, Dio, it was a good thing that life went the way it did, because otherwise I would have divorced him within 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that I found interesting.
Another thing in the movie that I wish was in the book is when they're back and they're being interrogated and they're saying, like, this probably didn't happen. You probably didn't go anywhere. In the movie, they actually have this clip where they're having the same kind of interrogations and conversations, and they say that the recording devices actually recorded like some 36 hours of static. See, in the book, the recording devices didn't work.
Yeah, they just
Right.
were
In the
erased.
movie they worked, but there was just nothing on them. So that's where she was like, I can't prove to you guys that I was there, but I have 36 or whatever hours
Yeah.
of actual recording.
Mm-hmm.
So I wish that was in the book, because then,
That would have improved things.
right,
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would have given her argument a little bit more weight.
yes.
Because even reading the book, I'm kind of going,
Well, maybe it didn't happen, right? Like, maybe she was just a ding-dong who didn't know what was actually going on.
carbon monoxide poisoning is a serious issue.
Yes.
Like,
I know, and I think that's partly why I felt a little bit let down at the end too, because now they went and they have this big journey, and then they get back and nobody believes them, and it's
Right.
like,
and, like, they can't do anything with the information either.
no.
But that all comes back to the premise of faith, right? It all ties in together. Why do we believe in things that we can't see or we can't touch or we can't feel?
Yeah.
Well, these people went somewhere and they can't have any shred of proof. So then they have to go on faith.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it
True.
all ties back.
Good point.
And then
Yeah.
it's all about pie.
It is all about pie. Pie and faith.
I do want to know now if somebody actually did the same experiment that she did, where they went through pi with all the ones and zeros.
Could you imagine?
I want to know. I need to look it up yet.
I hate math. No thanks.
Yep.
Well, she had a computer do 95% of the work for her, but
Still, I don't even want to discuss math, let alone
Nope.
do math.
it'd be interesting to see, just as a test to see, do anything.
Mm-hmm.
We've got supercomputers now.
I know. I was talking about math with my 13-year-old the other day, and anyways, I was saying how I was fine in math till I got to grade 12, and I had the worst math teacher. Like, he couldn't teach in the way that I could learn.
Yes.
And so I almost failed math. And then we got to the place where we were going. Went to a show, and somebody sat down in front of us who looked almost exactly like my grade 12 math teacher, and I was like, oh no.
Were you triggered?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. That was a traumatic year of math. I've never felt about math the same way since.
See, the thing is, I didn't learn... I did okay in math. I didn't do fantastic, but my math teacher was terrible. My physics teacher would teach us the exact same thing. I understood it.
Yeah, see?
He attached values to it.
It's
I don't care about adding 3 plus 5 together. Tell me why I'm adding 3 plus 5 together.
You're a Y person.
Mhm.
So am I. Don't
Yeah.
tell me
I
how.
was a
Don't
very
tell me to
naughty
do
child.
something. Explain to me why it's done that way, and then I can
Exactly.
understand it better.
So, if you add values to it, to me, it made sense then. But
It's all in the teacher.
yep.
And my mom said the opposite. She did terribly in math until she had a certain teacher, and then
Then it clicked.
Suddenly
It
it
never
all
made
clicked.
sense. So it goes sometimes.
Anyway,
I was just lucky because my math teacher and my science teacher were teaching the same thing.
yeah, no doubt, eh?
It worked out. So, any fun facts for us, Janine?
I do have some fun facts. As a humorous tribute to Sagan and his association with the catchphrase billions and billions, a Sagan has been defined as a unit of measurement equivalent to a very large number, technically at least 4 billion, 2 billion plus 2 billion of anything.
That's cool.
I thought that was interesting. And this next one is a little bit long, but I thought it was kind of a funny story. So, in 1994, engineers at Apple Computer codenamed the Power Macintosh 7100 Carl Sagan in the hope that Apple would make billions and billions with the sale of the Power Mac 7100. The name was only used internally, but Sagan was concerned that it would become a product endorsement and sent Apple a cease and desist letter. Apple complied, but engineers retaliated by changing the internal codename to BHA for Butthead Astronomer. Sagan then sued Apple for libel in federal court. The court granted Apple's motion to dismiss Sagan's claims and opined, in dicta, that a reader aware of the context would understand Apple was clearly attempting to retaliate in a humorous and satirical way, and that it strains reason to conclude that defendant was attempting to criticize plaintiff's reputation or competency as an astronomer. One does not seriously attack the expertise of a scientist using the undefined phrase butthead. Sagan then sued for Apple's original use of his name and likeness, but again lost. Sagan appealed the ruling. In November 1995, an out-of-court settlement was reached, and Apple's Office of Trademarks and Patents released a conciliatory statement that Apple has always had great respect for Dr. Sagan. It was never Apple's intention to cause Dr. Sagan or his family any embarrassment or concern. Apple's third and final codename for the project was LAW, short for Lawyers Are Wimps.
Ah, love it.
So that was a story
can-
found, but
Understand Sagan's first cease and desist letter because you don't really want your name being used on a product where
you're not endorsing it.
you're not endorsing it.
I know.
And he's got nothing to benefit from it and everything to lose by people going, that's Sagan's not working again. But, I mean, the
Butthead Astronomer.
butthead astronomer, like, dude, it's a joke. Get over
Clearly
yourself. Go
a
smoke some more
joke.
pot, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's why it's all about pie. He's got the munchies. We've solved the book. Now we know. That's what it is.
But
I've solved the mysteries of the universe.
yeah, that was a bit of a long story, but I feel like it had to be told
Yes.
in its entirety.
Not really a good way to shorten that.
No, but also fun.
Yes.
Butthead Astronomer is my favorite. But any final thoughts? Would you recommend?
I would recommend to a science nerd, not to someone who does not like a slow burn. But I
Agreed.
enjoyed this book, and I appreciate you guys reading it with me, even though it probably wouldn't have been either of your first choice.
I am going to go find the movie.
Yes.
Me
like,
too.
Now that I'm done the book, I'm like, okay, now I want to watch the movie. Especially because from what you're saying, the movie sounds a lot better.
It is.
It does.
Like, I would recommend this book. If you like the science of science fiction, yeah, sure, definitely. Go for it. Like, it's science fiction written by an actual scientist, which is relatively rare. If you like the story portion of science fiction, it's not going to be for you.
Right.
No.
Watch the movie.
Right.
That seems to cover it better.
Janine?
I agree with both of you. I personally would not recommend it, but for reasons that are because I don't like science. So it's not that, you know, like I said, somebody who likes science will probably really enjoy this book.
Out of curiosity, do you like forensics?
Yeah. Like there are certain aspects of science I like. Like I like the medical side of science.
Okay.
Like I was into science field. I worked as a pharmacy tech for 16 years. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not that I hate science. It's
Just there's not enough murder in here for you.
this type of science is not my, like, physics was never my thing.
Okay.
So
And just
Yeah.
because you like science doesn't mean you want to read about it.
yeah, science fiction has never been a genre that I have gravitated towards. Having said that, I don't think it's bad to read things that are outside of your
Yes.
comfort zone.
Unless it's a Louisa James. Just don't read that. Just don't read
It's
that.
bad. But like I like to read a wide variety, and so it's not like now I can say, oh, I've read Contact by Carl Sagan, you know, and see how smart I am. Not really, but you know, I can pull that out of my back pocket if the opportunity ever arises, right?
And you will.
Will I?
I hope so.
I don't know.
You never know.
If I'm in the right context, maybe. But anyway, yeah, like I say, if you are into sciencey things, this is probably a good book for you.
There we go. I think that's where we leave it for today.
Awesome.
Sounds good. Thanks for joining us, Michelle.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So that's what we thought of this book.
But those are just our opinions, and we'd like to hear yours.
So leave us a comment,
Thanks for joining us for Between the Lines, and thanks to our editor, Linda.
and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.